Brews and Banner Podcast. Banner Podcast. Brews and Banner Podcast. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Brews and Banner Podcast. I am your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, is the Legendary Brew Crew. What up, fellas?
I got water, I got, juice or whatever. He's like, y'all need twin legs? Matter of fact, I do.
My question to everybody is, does Delaware have an actual culture? This is the podcast that we talk about beer, but we also talk about a lot of things that's happening in the world. Politics, movies, anything really that comes to our mind while we're here sampling these brews. Grab a drink and pull up a chair.
We was out here gang banging now. Posted on the block, my chain swinging. O to B on and gone. Don't believe in 101s. 30 we love and drum. For when niggas die, gotta be smart and keep it
real. Who was that? Polo G?
Yeah, Polo G. Yeah.
Word.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Bruising Banter Podcast, where the topic is the rock and the brew. That'd be the fuel. I'm your host, Rob G, and with me, as always, the Legendary Brew Crew. What's going on, fellas?
Hi.
What is going on, everyone? How y'all doing out there?
Yeah, we are down a man today, so shout out to Dev.
What were you laughing at?
I don't even know, actually. It must have been something. I was thinking something, but then it...
what weird. Up, Devin?
Hey, Dev. Hey, Dev. Oh, my God.
This is episode 145 of Bruising Banter Podcast, and
I sound like a nigga that don't got a dad. I was eating like a
okay. You may have to talk to somebody about those things. I got a number for you if you need it.
That's funny.
You got a number for him?
if he needs it.
All right. Well, like I said, it's episode 145, and we do have a great guest with us this afternoon, or today, or this morning, or whatever time you are listening. That time of day, that's where we are.
What?
What? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess
it makes perfect sense.
It works.
It works, man. You're a genius.
Wherever you are, whoever you are, it's that time.
Right, it's that time. You forgot to mention night. The nighttime comes around too.
That's what I said. Whatever time.
Oh, okay. Instead of keep on naming the evening and supper time and all that shit.
Right. Exactly. Well, we want to get on with the show because this is a great show we have for you today. We want to bring in writer, and we'll let him. He'll tell about it. But we do want to bring in writer Jamaal Lemon to the podcast.
Welcome.
What's happening?
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for blessing our airwaves. Because we know you do a lot in the big. Yeah, you do a lot of writing. A lot of writing. You just had an event as well. We can get into as well. Beer making and all that good stuff. And so before we get into all that, we always like to know what everybody is drinking on. So, what are you drinking today? Jamaal, you drinking on something?
I'm not drinking on anything, but and I think we can probably get into this later. But I do have next to me my 8 and All collab with Edmund Zoe's Good Beer Hunting and Lost Loggers.
Nice.
Yeah, it's American Strong Ale. Pretty high, 8.5%. Pretty high ABU, so you get like a lot of malt, but you also get some bitterness peeking out there, and it's great with Gullah Geechee cuisine.
Okay.
What?
Gullah Geechee cuisine, Charleston, South Carolina, man. We can get into all that.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to.
We
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell you just said. Okay,
I'm familiar, but I would like to know a lot more about it, Mr. Geechee.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Could I call you Mr. Geechee? Does that work?
That's
I'll
not his name.
I'll call you Jamal. He may be the official. He may be the official.
Really Geechee?
Huh?
What if he's not actually Geechee though? Like,
well, he's the closest Geechee that we ever had on the show. He's the most official Geechee that we ever had.
Born and
Ain't nobody even mentioned it on the show.
That's true.
podcast in, and he the first one ever said it. So yes, he is Mister.
Good point.
Thanks, man.
All right. Lou, what are you drinking on?
Oh man, I got Sun Lab. I think that's the name of the brewery, but Sun Lab is called Pure Sun. It's an American sour ale with passion fruit, pink guava, pineapple, and orange zest. This is what the can looks like. Pure Sun is out of Miami, Florida. That's where it was brewed and canned. This is what it looks like.
That can looks like Miami Vice. Like
Right. No, yeah, it got all the vibe, right? For sure.
It looks like cocaine. Exactly what it
looks like 80s cocaine.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like in the pour. I'll taste it right now. Yeah, heavy in that pink guava, passion fruit, a little bit of the pineapple. You could taste the orange that's on the back end. But this is delicious. I like sours. It's 5.7 in a pint can. This is delicious, man. Pass me another. Cheers.
All right, yo. What you drinking on?
Yo, so I didn't know what to get, but because we had Brickworks on last week, and I just love this chocolate covered pretzel, so that's what I poured today. Chocolate covered pretzel stout, and this thing comes in at a heavy 9.5% ABV.
Ooh,
right? Whoa, yeah. But it's, you guys know, it tastes like chocolate covered pretzels. On the can, you can see the pretzel on the can. I don't know if it's any. Oh, and it's little chocolate pieces in the back too.
Maybe that's like the brick.
Yeah, like the brick. Yeah. There you go.
Brickwork. That's the brick.
There you go. Yeah, but this is what it looks like in the glass. Nice dark chocolate. I got it in my Black is Beautiful glass, but it's definitely a good pour. Tastes like chocolate covered pretzels. Even that little salty flavor on there too. So it tastes just like chocolate covered pretzels. So shout out to Ron on this one.
Yeah, he did a really good job.
Yeah, he did. So this will be past me another and another.
And then he's passed out.
Passed out. Yes, with that 9.5.
That's exactly where you be at.
I'll be passed out from this one, probably. Shit.
Yeah, maybe
it's possible. Hey, Rob G.
Yes, sir.
What would you happen to be drinking on this week, sir?
I'm actually drinking from Love City Brewing, the double Eraser Hood Hazy IPA.
Can you put that closer, sir? I like that. That can look simple, and I like it.
It's big, juicy, and smooth. It is 9.3% ABV. It's the bigger version of their eraser hood that they have a smaller version. So if you go in, you can get the double or the baby or the original.
Do they taste different?
The baby,
or is it just different sizes?
There's a slight difference. I think the smaller eraser hood. The eraser hood is actually tastes a little more juicier than the and it also could be because I had the original in on draft, and this is from the can, so that could be a part of it as well.
Yeah.
But there it is right there in my
look good
Premier Craft joint, and with my Hoppy Boy. There you
go. Hoppy Boy. Yeah, I like that glass.
Yeah. All right.
Well, would you pass you another of those, or?
Yeah. I think I might have even posted it. Pass me another.
Well, people listening don't know that if they didn't see your post. So
yeah.
Not everyone follows you on Instagram, Rob.
Not yet, but they are. They're getting there.
Oh, they coming.
Jeez. All right. We don't want to hold it too much longer because we do want to know all about what's going on, yes. What happened with the event, and how you got into craft beer. So without further ado, we want to give the floor to Jamaal. So the floor is yours, Jamaal.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all for having me again, man. This is in the best sense possible. This is the blackest podcast I've ever. So
thank you.
Yeah, I feel like I don't have to do much teaching on this one. I think we all kind of like.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
We blocking in the motherfucker over here, bro.
Yeah. This is true.
Yeah, man. But my name's Jamaal, man. Born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina. I moved up to the DC area in 2007. because I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, just to just to get up out of there for a little bit. And well, one of the main reasons why I moved out is like I just really wanted to be around some Black people, like doing some different shit. At the time I was like teaching high school, and which was cool, but I came up for like Christmas break one year to kick it with one of my frat brothers, and came up, and then an hour into the city I was like, yo, I'm moving. It's like I'm getting up out of there.
An hour into the city?
Hour into the city, man. They took me, they took me to this place. So where are y'all at? Are y'all like
we're in Delaware.
Delaware. We're like 90 minutes away.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So anyway, it's this place in DC, this bar called Stan's, and they call it like Black Cheers. I don't know if it's still open now because of the pandemic, but it's like downtown. It's like, basement kind of thing. And like first when I walked in there, it's like all Black people in there dressed up in suit. You coming from South Carolina, like you don't see shit like that. Everybody back home teaches, or they like work in plants and stuff like that. So I walked in there, I was like, okay, this is different. And then not only that, like the drinks they make in there. So like if you want like a rum and coke, they give you like a fucking 12 ounce straight up rum, and they give you a shot of coke. So every drink in there is like $16, but you get like
that's worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course, this is before I was married, but like ladies were in there. I was like, oh my gosh, this can't be. And this was like a Wednesday. This was like a Wednesday night.
Chocolate City.
Yeah, I was in there. I was sold, man. I was like, yeah, I'm moving. Took me 6 months to get up here, and I moved, man. And so like, been up here ever since. And currently, my wife and I, we live in Baltimore City. And I kind of got. You want the whole story? Y'all want me to?
Yeah.
Oh man, we got time. We here.
Yeah, so I was up here for a little minute, and one of my man that I went to high school with, he moved up here also, and we kind of after high school we kind of like lost contact or whatever, but found out that we were both in the city. It's like, oh shit! So then we just started hanging, and then just going to shows and stuff like that, and we were just like we've always been into like arts and creative shit and like music and all of that. So we were trying to think of like we just wanted to do something cool or whatever, like something creative. So we started this travel blog because me, him, and another homeboy, we like randomly went over to Europe just to kick it, like just to go or whatever.
Kick it. Right.
Me and my boys do too. We just randomly go to Europe just to kick it.
And so we just went, took our cameras and like, shot photos, did videos, and like was heavy on the social media. This is like around 2012, something like that. And came back and like edited it up and made it look good or whatever, and like just started posting it, and like all of our friends like really liked it or whatever. So friction happened between one of the homeboys, but my high school homeboy and I, we were like, fuck it, we just gonna break off and do this shit ourselves. So we started this website that was focused on travel, because at the time, from what we saw, we were kind of like just looking immediate, like our people around us, like where were they going to travel? Everybody was like going to Miami, Vegas, Atlanta, like the Caribbean. Like I don't want to say typical shit, but like everybody was kind of like doing the same song and dance.
Right.
And we were like going to Brussels and Amsterdam and Ireland on St. Patrick's Day, and not trying to like in a flossy kind of way, but it's like, I already know what's going on in Atlanta and all that. It's like I want to kind of like be uncomfortable but comfortable in a sense.
Right.
So we started doing that, and like just traveling and then like documenting it. But we both had 9-to-5 jobs, so it's kind of hard to sustain a travel blog if you're not traveling all the time. So then I just started thinking of ways, how can we travel without necessarily leaving? So I came up with this idea for a YouTube show called One Beer. And basically we would take one beer from one country and compare it to one album, kind of like a wine and cheese thing, right?
Yeah.
So we did that for a while, for like 2 years. And just like in his apartment, every Sunday we shot like 2, maybe 3 videos and like just talk very dumb about these beers. Because at the time, like we were complete novices, man. Like we didn't know anything about beer styles. We were just talking shit. This album reminds me of Currency's album. Like just, shooting shit, whatever. anyway, but we kept doing it and try to edit it, make it look cool. So a couple years later, this website Thrillist posts this casting call where they were looking for people who wanted to travel the world, drink beer, document their experiences, and get paid for it. And I was like, yo, what?
Sign me up.
Yeah, so I sent it to my boy, and I was like, yo, check this out. I was like, we basically do this already. He was like, yeah, that's crazy. Like, neither one of us applied for it. I was just like sending it to him. I was like, yo, this is crazy. they're looking for niggas to do this shit, right? And so I was like, whatever. So then like a couple of days go by, and I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and apply for this thing. Probably not gonna win. Like, whatever. I'll sleep better knowing that I at least applied for it.
Yeah.
Applied for it, forgot about it. Maybe about a couple months later, she was my girlfriend at the time. We were moving into a new apartment, and I get this. It was April Fool's Day, literally April Fool's Day. I get an email on my phone, and I look at it, and it's like, you've been selected as a semifinalist for this internship. I was like, yo, so I called my boy, his name's Shep. I called Shep. I was like, yo, check out this email I'm about to send to you. It's saying that we won. We're like a semifinalist for some things. Like, I don't know what it is. Check it out. I'm literally packing up and unpacking right now. He was all right. So he checks it out, hits me back. It was like, yeah, it's like from a company called World of Beer. And I was like, oh, that's from the Thrillist thing that I applied to like a few months ago. So basically they needed us to, do we accept when it being a semifinalist and go on to the next step? Of course, we say yeah. So they're like, okay, so your assignment is you have to. It was like a special assignment. You have to go to a brewery, take 3 pictures, and do like a write up about it. And we were like, the fuck? Like, we've been doing it. Like, we've been doing this shit for a minute. It's like, okay, that's all you want us to do. All right, so we go. It's like a brewery at the time, and we were living in downtown Silver Spring. It's a brewery right up the block from where we used to live called Denizens. So went there and spoke to the head brewmaster and took 3 pictures. And so I have a 15-pound. This is real fucked up. I have a 15-pound Boston Terrier. And my boy Shep was like, yo, whatever we do, you need to put your dog in this picture, because if white people are running this shit and they see that dog, they're going to be all over it.
Yeah, right.
Like, all right, let's do it.
I have a question. Is a 15-pound Boston Terrier a bigger Boston Terrier?
No, yeah, he's a little
That's
guy.
about the right size for a Boston Terrier?
Yeah.
Okay. They normally range from about 12 on the low end, from like 12 to like 17 pounds, but they can get up to like 26.
Gotcha. Okay. I was not sure. I had no
idea.
idea.
They're like Duke size.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the comparison.
I got a pug. He like.
Yeah. Same thing almost.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so we, go there, shoot the pictures, whatever, do the write up, send it back to them. And they were like, they hit us back. It was like, yo, you made it as finalists. So now we have to do like a Skype interview. So we do a Skype interview, and like all of this is happening like really, really fast. I'm like, yo, this shit is like, is this legit? Like, what's going on? And
wait, you still don't know whether it's legit or not.
It happened on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, he still ain't
taking this joke along.
Yeah, that's that black shit. Is like,
the rug is about to be pulled. Yeah,
right. Yeah, it's like so. So we do that, and then so we had the Skype interview with them, so they get to see us and see how well Shep and I kind of like just like interact and play off of each other and everything. And then they're just asking stuff like about where we're from and all of that. And then one of them asked, so my dog's name is Coltrane, so they asked, well, who does Coltrane belong to? And I was like, oh, that's my dog. Goes into this 10-minute conversation about how much they love Coltrane, and then I get a text while we're on the Skype interview. Text from my boy Shep. He was like, "Nigga, I told you." So long story short, we ended up winning. And this is 2016. We ended up winning this contest. So it was four? How many? Yeah, 4 people total that won. It was a guy from Ohio, a young lady from Brooklyn, New York, and then my boy Shep and I were a package deal. So they, because we did the videos and everything together, was, let's have both of them come on. So they, tell us that we win, and they were like, okay, this is like a Tuesday now. And so they're like, okay, well, we're going to fly you guys down to Tampa, Florida. We're having like our annual like business retreat with all the managers, because their headquarters is based out of St. Petersburg, Florida, which is right by Tampa or whatever. It was like, we want to fly you guys out so that you can meet the team and we can do media training and all that. And it was like, what the fuck? Okay. So my boy he's a high school teacher, and I work for the government, and like, I can just take off whenever I want. And him, I was like, yo, are you gonna be able to take off? He was like, yeah, I don't care if I can't take off. So sure enough, dog, they send us the tickets. We fly down, car service picking us up, hotels paid for, it's like all this stuff. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So we get down there, and they're like, so we're having like this, they were having like this concert in this, I don't remember what venue it was, but it's like an outdoor venue in like downtown St. Petersburg, Florida. And we go to that show, and it's like a live band playing, and it's all these people there, but all the people that are there are like people that work for the company. And it's like beer everywhere, just free beer. And the whole time, people like just coming up to us and like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you guys won. We were rooting for y'all. And in our minds, we're like, we still don't know what the hell is going on. They bring us on stage. They introduce us as winners. Like we interview, this is all for like a weekend. Like we interview with the BBC, we do the media training, we do all this shit. Dang. And it's like, yo, this is crazy. And so then we get a better sense of, what does this mean? How does this, what are we going to be doing? So basically our job, and this was for a summer. This was also the summer before I got married. I got married in October. So this is from like late April, May, all the way up to like August. And they're paying us $12,000 to do this.
Oh, shit.
And yeah. So basically they give us our missions to wherever we're supposed to go. It's like, basically they wanted Shep and I to go to these places, show that we're having a good time, document it, and send it back to them. Basically everything that we've always been doing.
Right.
Except y'all actually get to go now.
Yeah.
You're paid to do it. And
get paid to do it.
And get paid to do it. Yeah. So then we have another meeting about where we're going to go for our assignments or whatever. So like our first assignment was in Baltimore, just to kind of like work out any kinks or whatever to like a local World of Beer facility. And this was like every other weekend we had an assignment. So like I would be at work, and like normally I would just like sign out early on Friday to catch the flight to go to wherever we're going. And in my mind, I'm like, you motherfuckers don't know how much fun I'm about to have. And y'all like I'm about to be out here, my boy, out here, boy, we out here. And so like, this is like I said, like every other weekend. So they give us where we're going. Baltimore the first week. Fly out to Chicago to run a beer mile. And what that is, I don't know if y'all have ever ran a beer mile. It's every quarter of a mile, have to chug a 12-ounce of beer. And I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but I came in top 3 during this. This was like July. This was like, it was hot as hell, but it was fun as hell. My first time in Chicago. And then after that, a couple weeks later, we go to Sierra Nevada out in Chico, California. And everything's paid for, flights, hotels, food. If we use our own money, use Expensify, and they'll reimburse us, like the whole 9, man. And they're like paying us like every, like bi-weekly. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so Sierra Nevada, and then the big trip was going over to Europe. And this was for like maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks, where we had to go to Czech Republic, Belgium, Germany, Berlin, and Munich. And basically, so all these places we would go to, we were either going to beer festivals or actual breweries. So when we went to Chico, California for Sierra Nevada, it was basically like a brewery tour. And like the whole time we just have to document our experiences and interview people and, just do the whole 9 and like be active on social media, on their social media accounts. But for me, like, and like all this time, like we're not really beer fanatic. Like we never really hung out at breweries like that. Like, we weren't really crazy about the beer thing. We would drink it, but like, whatever. But for me, it wasn't until we went to Europe, and prior to that, we had been to Europe before. But when we went to the Czech Republic, that's when I literally just fell in love with it, because in Czech Republic, like that beer culture there is deep, man. Like it was a lot of shit that I had never seen before. Like so like everywhere we went, there was a point of contact, and our point of contact in Czech Republic was a guy named Evan Rell, and we don't know these people prior to going there. Evan Rell is probably one of the most famous beer writers in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like he also writes for the publication that I work for at Good Beer Hunting, but like has written for like Wall Street Journal and like done all this cool stuff, man, and work with Anthony Bourdain, like all this crazy shit. Anyway, he's our point of contact in Czech Republic. We go to this bar. It's like a beer pub or whatever, called Lokal, Lokal, and it's a Czech pub where he begins to explain tank beer and what that is. And tank beer in the Czech Republic is where basically a pub has a welded tank with a Mylar bag inside of it, and it's pressurized and it's filled with beer. So basically the brewery, like Pilsner, first of all, they call all beer Pilsner, whatever it is. They just give me a Pilsner. So Pilsner Kel drives a truck to this pub, connects the hose up to that tank, pumps that beer into that tank, and then it's dispensed. Well, what makes it dope is because I think we all know that oxygen and light and sometimes time, depending on the beer style, those are like kryptonite to beer.
Right.
So for this beer, oxygen never hits this beer. So the first time oxygen hits that beer is when it's dispensed from the faucet. And bro, I lie to you not, like that shit was like, the foam on it was like cappuccino. Like it was like this creamy. It was like all the shit. Like I had never seen a beer poured like that before. And then we're just sitting, I'm just drinking. I was like, yo, this is a good beer. Like I never even said that before. I never said, oh my God, this beer is the shit. Like that beer was, I was like, damn, this beer is good. And then we're just sitting down and we're like eating blood sausage and potatoes, like all this real like shit that I really like to eat. And so he then begins to tell us about pours in the Czech Republic. How if you come to the bar and you want a particular beer, a lot of times either they'll ask you what kind of pour do you want, or you'll tell them what kind of pour do you want. I was like, what? Well, what that doesn't make any sense. He was like, I'll show you. Bartender comes over. He asks for a beer called Mliko, and it translates to milk in English.
Right.
Goes to the bar, pours the beer, comes back, and fam, the beer is all white. It's all foam. Like it's a mug full of foam.
Whoa.
And I'm like, my man, come on, man. Nobody's drinking this shit. Like I'm not. Come on now. He's like, try it. I try it. The best beer I've ever had in my life. Like it's like when I say foam, like it's like creamy, and it's like I said, like a cappuccino, and like it's just hard to, you have to like really see that shit for yourself. But at that particular moment, like that, like beer just really it touched on all of my senses, like sight, obviously the taste. Just like being in the pub and like all these different things, and then like I was just blown away by like just pour up just foam, and it was good. And like I was telling him, I was like, yo, back home, like people do nasty shit like back home, like in college. If it's too much foam in your beer, people used to like rub the side of their nose and stick their hand in their beer to kind of like kill all the foam. But like in Czech Republic, like foam is like, that's a good thing. And later on, I find out that that kind of like keeps the beer fresh for the time being or whatever. So that kind of just set me on my path to this beer shit. And then once that internship was over, when I came back, I just started applying for breweries in DC. And like I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know. I was just like, yo, I like doing this shit. I don't know what it is. I like it. I still didn't know a whole lot, and I eventually started working at this brewery in DC called Atlas, and worked there for a while. And and then doing that, like it kind of helped me like learn like beer styles and like just how to, keep things clean when you're pouring beer and dispensing beer and all that stuff.
Wait, so I got a question before you go any further.
Yeah, go ahead.
So he was saying that this pour was all foam, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he was saying that you could ask for a certain kind of pour. So when he asked for the beer, is that what he asked for? Like,
yeah,
yeah. So could you get it another way?
Yeah, so it's called Maliko, and that's why I say it translates as milk in English, and that's what that particular
that's what the pour was, Maliko. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I understand. Okay.
I showed you a picture of this. Remember? Y'all remember I showed a picture of
what was
y'all
that?
drink
86.
No, it was not because they do it at Human Robot here in Philly. They do that.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. It's another brewery here in the States that does it. It's Notch Brewing. I think, where's Notch? Like in Vermont or something like that.
So the type of pour he's describing is basically the amount of foam that you want within the beer.
So
I wonder what another pour is. So what do you call another one?
You have Maliko, and then you have another one called Ladinka. And Ladinka is like it's a mix between your standard premium Czech lager and then your dark Czech lager. Like they mix some shits up. And then the dark Czech lager sits on the top. And
oh yeah, I think I had that before.
Oh, that shit
somebody does it here. I can't remember where I was at, but it looks like it's kind of arty looking when you look at it in the actual glass. Like, but I can't remember where I had it at. It was like a long time ago.
Yeah, dog, that shit is so good, man.
But
and
it's good,
that, like even to get a beer in Czech Republic, like it'll take you like 5 minutes because they clean the glass like 3-4 times. So first of all, like all the glassware is in this sink filled with water. So the glasses are underwater. So they'll take it out, hit it on the sprinkler, clean it out with a rag, dump it in another glass of water, run some more water in it, clean it out. Bring it.
This is right up Rob. Rob is having a time right now.
All that shit, man. I was like, yo, what the y'all motherfuckers really do all this shit?
Yeah, that's how Rob cleaned his glasses like that.
Yeah. I do that to this day. Yeah, that's Maliko, isn't it? Yeah, see that shit.
There's no beer in there.
That's only just that little bit of shot of beer is all we drinking.
Trust me.
But that's all. Hold up. But that's all I'm saying is that's all the beer I get. Okay. I just need to know what's happening, and I'm excited. I'm excited when that comes to my table.
I'm not excited.
Right. This changes. This is so American of us, Yoda. Like what we're doing is very American. It has to be because that looks crazy as hell. Like, that looks like a trash beer.
Right, everything that you're saying, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to pay for foam though.
Oh,
am I drinking the foam? Can I how much of the foam is getting? That's
they say it's almost like a shot. You kind of drink it like it's a shot, kind of, right?
Yeah, so it is. It's a big ass glass full of a shot.
Again, like that foam doesn't taste like you think it's going to taste because we're not used to having beer dispensed here in the States the way they do over there. So like
I'm gonna take your word for it because you had it.
But I need to try it. I want to try it. Where's that place? That's in Philly.
That's in Philly. Human Robot.
Oh, we're going.
Check it out.
Give it a shot. Road trip. Give it a shot. Yeah, it's great, man.
We're going next weekend. I gotta try that. That bullshit.
I don't know how well they do it, so I can't stand that. But I know if you go
the Czech Republic,
that water,
right,
and the beer is cheap as hell. Like a pint is like what, $1.45, like something crazy like that.
Okay, I can pay.
Drink all day.
Oh yeah, I definitely would try to.
I would try that for $1.
Yeah, I would try the milk. I would try the milk pour. I would definitely get the milk pour for $1.
But you talking about $8? I don't want to.
Yeah, I know. Right?
It probably ain't $1 at a Human Robot.
I know, but I'm gonna pay for that trip if I can get it there. So I'll pay the extra.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's true. It's probably still cheaper at Human Robot than if you went there.
COVID is kind of strong out in Czech Republic right now too. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I ain't going out there.
But
yeah, I'm glad you showed that though because now I got the picture in my head. That's still some weird shit. But
what is the name of the pour that we particularly drink when it's like less than a quarter a head or 10%, whatever?
Gosh. I just Schnit is what it's called. So Ladinka, Maliko, and Schnit. And Schnit.
So it's only the three. It's only the three.
Three, and I think it's like one more, but those were the three that I know that I was told about.
Gotcha.
And Schnit is like your standard 2 fingers of phone, your standard 4 or whatever like that. But like, bro, I'm telling you, like, go on YouTube or like Instagram and like just like search that shit and just watch how like the time and care that they put into like just prepping a beer. And like it even gets to the point whereas people go to particular pubs in the Czech Republic because they like how it's poured there. Not necessarily like, I mean, you know, I would go out on a limb and say most of the beer, if not all the beer in Czech Republic is going to be good, but it's like, how do they prepare? It's like, oh, well, I don't go over here because they don't know how to pour that shit. Fuck with them boys over there. They know how to pour your beer. Like, it's like that. You know what I mean?
More
I'm
so
gonna
than
go
how
fuck
the
with
beer tastes.
I'm gonna go fuck with a brewery here. Like, let me get Schnit.
A Schnit.
Let me get that.
And they're like, oh, we do Schnitz all the time. We Schnit pour all the time. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Schnit pour that.
But that's dope. That's dope that you say that they is based. The beer is good everywhere over there. So it's more like I like Yoda over there because he poured a certain way versus where Rob at his brewery or his pub will pour it a different. That's and then. Was there ever another country that like after Czech Republic that did that to you?
So Czech Republic, man, because like it really opened my eyes into the nuances of beer. But I can go out on a limb and say that my favorite styles of beer are from Belgium, and I would say Germany a little bit. But like my favorite style is a quad, a Belgian quad. But like Weizenbachs and oh my gosh, what's the other beer style? Route beers, like those are my favorite. Those are German style. Like those are my favorite styles of beer, which are, you know, Weizenbachs kind of similar to a quad, not as stronger, not as darker on the SRM, but like kind of like almost like the same dance. And then you have route beer that's just kind of like something totally left that like a lot of people just don't like. But
are you finding these beers locally in Baltimore? Or is it I'm going to Germany to get this beer?
No. So you can get some of them import. There's a nice little bottle shop around the corner from me called Off the Rocks. Shout out to my man Jarrell and his wife Ty. They carry like a lot. They carry like a lot of local stuff, a lot of Maryland stuff, like a lot of East Coast stuff. Period. And then they'll also have like a selection of like your Belgian styles and your German styles. And I can go in there and get like I can get like a lot. I can get like a lot of good stuff. Like I can get some route beers. I can get some Icebox in there, German Icebox, and so like a lot of. And then anywhere I go, if I'm traveling with my wife or whatever, I'm gonna always pull up the Yelp app and just find out where's the nearest brewery and just pop in there and see what they have. So.
Nice. Then I was gonna say Baltimore got a plethora. Breweries and like different.
Good word.
Yeah. He threw that one out there too.
He was working on it. He was working on it.
I threw that out there. That's that 9.5%.
Oh, it activated your brain power. You got 9.5% more brain power.
The breweries here are pretty good here in Baltimore, man. The neighborhood where we live in. We actually split the difference between two breweries. It's like Mobtown. I actually used to work at Mobtown. Mobtown Brewery is like a half a mile to the right, and Monument Brewing is a half a mile to the left. So, we're in a nice little spot, and we live in a neighborhood called Brewers Hill. So,
nice.
Oh yeah. I heard that. Yeah.
Nice. So after you came back, you started working on that brewery. Then what happened after that?
Yeah, so I was just working in the tap room behind the bar, and just kind of like taking everything in, and like I'm already newly snobbish with the pours and the foam and all that, so I'm like taking my time, pouring all that shit perfect like that. So I have a English background. I have a master's degree in English, and aside from teaching, like I always enjoyed writing, but I never like really did anything. So I never really got paid to do it. Let's just say that. And I was just trying to find my way within this thing. And I would do like a lot of tastings for Atlas. Also, my boy and I that I did the internship with, we came back and we started a podcast. It's kind of like fell on its head now because life happens.
Right.
But we started up a podcast, and we wanted to. It was two things we noticed on that internship. One, everywhere we went, we didn't see a whole lot of people of color. We didn't see a whole lot of black guys. Saw damn near zero black women. Right? And but we didn't want to have a podcast where we were only speaking to black people. You know what I'm saying? We kind of felt like, that's, we just didn't want to, we just wanted to kind of like challenge and push some shit. One thing we did see was a lot of women, not necessarily African-American women, but we did see like a lot of women in positions of leadership in all these different, so when we went to Sierra Nevada, like one of our guys, she's a woman. We went over to Berlin when Stone opened a brewery in Europe in Berlin. I don't know if it's open anymore, but like the head of like the young lady that was like the head of marketing, she was like our point of contact. So it was like all these women in positions of leadership. But from our experiences in relationships with the women that we know, none of the women like beer. So that was kind of like new to us. So we started this podcast like, well, we're going to only speak to women, both in and outside of the beer industry, and black women, white, like everybody. We just speaking to all women or whatever. So we just doing that, and that kind of like got a little bit of publicity, man. Like craftbeer.com and a couple of other platforms picked it up. So from there, that's when I started reaching out about writing opportunities, and so. With craftbeer.com, I would just do that. Like for a while, because we were just coming off of the One Beer YouTube episodes where we were comparing music and beer and all that. So then I kind of like translated that to the writing, and they thought it was cool or whatever. And then Good Beer Hunting, I'd always kind of known about them, and I just never thought that I could. And Good Beer Hunting was a little bit intimidating for me because like the images and stuff was so good and so clean, and like you could tell these is like some art ass motherfuckers that are like doing this shit, and then the pieces that they were writing were like so good. I was like, I don't know, so I'm still new to the industry. I can write, but I don't want to be on there just talking out the side of my neck on some dumb shit.
Right.
Like I at least want to kind of like be a little bit more into the culture. So like all of that stuff kind of led up to me eventually reaching out to Good Beer Hunting for like, just like, hey, you guys got any openings or whatever? Like, and the guy, Michael Kaiser, he's the owner of Good Beer Hunting. He's like, oh yeah, man. He actually kind of knew about me through the podcast and through the internship and all that stuff. So we just had some conversations, and he's like, oh, why don't you try writing some stuff? And I'd like to take pictures and stuff like that. So doing that, and then that's kind of like I don't want to say put me up, anything like that, but I've kind of like gotten a little bit more notoriety from being on their platform.
Why you don't want to say put you up? Like, what's wrong with that?
I don't floss like that, fam.
Come on, man. We got to.
You randomly go to Europe. You randomly go to Europe.
No, up here I say it all the time. I just don't say it out. I just don't say it out like that.
This is the platform. Go ahead and say it out loud.
You say that shit out loud. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the podcast is Help the Poor. That's what it's called, right?
The podcast is Help the Poor, POUR, and we, I think we did all right. Like I had my wife on there, and had Julia Hers on there. She's a big name in the craft beer industry, and lobbyists on there, authors on there, and we just basically and we didn't necessarily talk about just beer all the time. It was just a platform for women who work in the industry and women who may not like beer for whatever reason, to kind of like have a platform to where they can try, certain styles and just talk about their work and things that they do. And so like, yeah, and it's like in my mind also, I've always like, in particular for Black women, I really want more Black women in this industry, because especially for Black women, like if they like some shit, they're gonna bring 7 people with them, and then that shit's gonna go. Whatever it is. If they buy into you and like what you're doing, they're gonna bring people in. It's not all about capital, but I just think, it can show how much Black women can kind of like drive culture or whatever, that they don't necessarily get a lot of respect about doing. So.
Facts.
Yeah, that's true.
Now you just recently wrapped up a, I guess, collaboration and an event that I will not try to pronounce.
Yeah. Take care of the root, man. That was
what's it called?
Take care of the root. So that's that Gullah Geechee shit I was talking you about. You see that right there.
Okay.
Take care of the root. So the long, it's a saying back home, and like a lot of the old folks say, take care of the root for heal the tree. And what that means is it's important to know your past in order to understand where you're going. You have to take care of the root of that tree for that tree to live, or if not, that tree is going to die. So whatever issues is going on up here with the tree dying, you don't fix it up there. You got to go to the root problem to handle that thing. And so this came about, and this was September of last year. A few of my buddies, or one of the guys I had already knew, Mike Stein, a guy named Mike Stein. He owns a company, beer research firm called Lost Loggers. He and a guy named Peter Jones. And there's another guy, Dr. Brian Alberts, who's based out of Washington State. I knew him I moderated a panel in DC at the Hyrick House Museum a couple years back, and Brian was on that panel. So I kind of knew him from there. But like Mike Stein, I knew him fairly well. Those guys were already in talks with this research project for this German gun and beer festival called the Schützenfest that took place in Charleston, South Carolina.
What?
Yeah.
Gun and beer?
Gun and beer?
It gets ill.
Doesn't sound safe, but
yeah. So they were in talks about talking about that. And so they were a little hesitant to move forward with that project because the African-American involvement in that festival was pretty vast. So they were like, well, do we know anybody from Charleston, South? Do we know anybody from Charleston? And then Mike was like, oh, my boy Jamaal. So then they pulled me in. We have conversations. And then at this point, because Mike and his partner, they're beer historians, and Dr. Brian Alberts, he is a PhD in history. Like they're historian, they bona fide historian. I'm just a nigga that just be writing bars here and there. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not a historian like that. So I was a little hesitant. I was like, I don't know, man. It's like I really want to do this thing, but it's like I'm not a historian. Like I don't know how to tackle this thing. So, we have a series of conversations. And then one weekend I had to go home to check on my mom. And I always hit out one of my boy KJ. He runs this Instagram account called Black Food Fridays, if you ever want to check it out. So I always hit him up, yo, what's up? Let's go hang out. So we go to this brewery and sit down, just have a beer, just talking, shooting shit or whatever. And so at this brewery, it's like a courtyard. You can go into the brewery if you want to get beer, or you can just sit out in this big ass courtyard. So we're sitting in the courtyard. Courtyard's fairly packed, and we're sitting down talking. And he asked a question. He asked the questions that I hear all the time from from the homies or whatever. It's like, yo, where are the black people at or whatever? And I was like, I got it. So that helped me get an idea of how to kind of like tackle this project or whatever. So go back to my research boys. We're talking again, and I'm just talking about things that I would see growing up in Charleston, like football. Played high school football, played football in college. So the town where I'm from, football is a really big deal. You have all of these schools that are really, really, really good in football, but the head coaches for these jobs, they get those positions because they inherit them, not necessarily on the merit of their skills. And of course, all of those head coaches are white.
Absolutely.
This one team, he was the head coach. He's no longer now, but his grandfather was the head coach. Head coach was the winningest football coach on any level. John McKissick, look it up. And when we were in high school together, the grandson, they were talking about, when McKissick steps down, his grandson is going to get that job. Like this was open. They would have these conversations. Jump forward, he ends up getting that position when he applies for whatever. Anyway, so it's like all these like crazy ass, like just like borderline racist, racist, like just kind of like methods and systems that are in place that prior to coming to DC, like I just thought that's just what it was. You know what I'm saying? I thought the fact that black people just back home for the most part just work in plants or become teachers. You know, I just thought that's just what it was. It wasn't until I came up here to like DC and then you see people who like, you know, the first time I met a dude that same day when I was with my boy, I met a dude. He was like, "Yeah, I work for National Geographic." I was like, "Nigga, what?" Like, that shit blew my mind. It's like you work for National Geographic. Like everybody I know back home, I like teachers. So it's like all of that. But like in Charleston, in South Carolina, it's a little bit slower. It's a little bit suppressed, and it's like, and it's a reason. It's a reason behind that. Anyway, I promise you, I'm gonna get to the point. So, you know, I'm just talking about all the stuff with my historian guys, and they're like, Jamaal, you need to tell your story. You need to tell your story. And then the history stuff, we're going to kind of like create a song and dance so that we're going to tell the history of this thing, but we're also going to show how you grew up and how those things that happened way back then, addressing the root, are still in place now. And so going back to the festival, the Schützenfest, it was a gun and beer festival held in Charleston and a few other states as well. And what it was, so it happened during Reconstruction, which is basically on the heels of the end of the Civil War. So you have Civil War is now over, and you have African Americans who were once enslaved are no longer enslaved and trying to assimilate themselves into society. Of course, you know, the Southern whites are like, nah, we still see y'all as this. Y'all can't be that. So there's that struggle that's still going on today. Germans come over as immigrants. They're not looked at as white by the Southern whites. So because of that, the German immigrants and the African Americans, they start getting tight. So the Germans would have all these grocery stores. The African Americans would go there and, you know, buy stuff, support and all of that. They would live together. They would intermarry. Like they were cool. And then through all of that, the Germans had this festival, again, this gun and beer festival that was really popular in German culture. And then African Americans start being involved in that festival. Not so much on the gun side, but definitely, definitely on the beer side and in the beer drinking side.
They wouldn't let us involved in the gun side.
Yeah. And so then the Southern whites see that. They see the African American involvement. And they see that as a threat. It's like, yo, we can't have all these black people with these guns and this beer. What the fuck is going on over there? So then they start getting involved. And then the German immigrants looking for social acceptance in their new home or whatever, that eventually excludes the African Americans out of this festival, out of this beer space. Now, what does that look like today? Well, also during that time, it was illegal for African Americans to either be seen consuming or perceived intoxicated, whether it was with beer or with spirits. So if someone suspected someone African American that was drunk or saw them drinking, they would either be put in jail or they would be publicly flogged. So naturally, you know, you got all these black people like, fuck that, I ain't going over there. All the white people, I don't want the shit. Like, I'll just stay over here. I'll just do my own thing. So then that's kind of like the beginning of why you can go to a lot of breweries and you probably don't see a whole lot of black people. Specifically for Charleston, though. I'm only talking about Charleston.
Right.
So this Schützenfest is like the fingerprint to the black exclusion as it relates to beer in Charleston, because there are 0 black-owned breweries in Charleston. Now, on a stereotypical level, going back to like what my boy said, asked me at that brewery, he's like, yo, why aren't there any black people here? And it's easy to look at that and say, oh, well, shit, either you're black or white. Oh, black people just don't drink beer.
Right.
Or if you black, say like, man, I don't go to no breweries. That's some white boy shit. Those are very like low levels of deductive reasoning that have roots as to why people think that way.
Right.
Well, that's the angle that I took on that piece to kind of like just show like, there's no predetermination to say that, you know, me or people who look like me don't like beer or don't drink beer. It's like, no, we were excluded from those spaces. And not only that, we were actually at those spaces, but nobody nobody's telling us that. So this leads into my collaboration with Edmund Zost. So during our research, we were just like, just kind of like looking up beer stuff in Charleston. We find out that there's this guy named Edmund Egan, who in like 1778 owned the first brewery in Charleston. Edmund Egan. They called him the Rebel Brewer or whatever. And there's a brewery in Charleston called Edmund Zost, which is named after Edmund Egan. And on their website at the time, it read that, they had like a little short bio about Edmund Egan, about him being the Rebel Brewer of Charleston, and they basically championed him. So, he's Edmund Egan. He's the first. On record, Edmund Egan mentions the enslavement of 8 African Americans that helped brew his beer. 6 brewers and 2 coopers. There are also some other names, some other numbers. So it's I think now like 15. But anyway, these are 8 African Americans who were brewing beer. Now, Edmund Zost at the time, they weren't leading with all of that information in their marketing. They're just championing Edmund Egan and him being the Rebel Brewer. Not that Edmund Egan, and the unfortunate enslavement of African Americans who brewed his beer, because let's be honest, he wasn't brewing his beer.
Right.
The enslaved were brewing his beer. So I put that in this piece. So this piece is a 3-part article, and it's broken down. I won't go into all of that, but it's 3 parts, and it's it's pretty long, but it's pretty detailed. But anyway, I mentioned in that piece that, and the point of me putting it in there was not necessarily to wave a finger, but it was to prove how Charleston does a really, 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 really good job of whitewashing its history.
Right.
And
Charleston, that's the whole freaking country. Do that.
Everything you're saying is Charleston is just a microcosm of the United States.
So that's why. That's why I always say I'm specifically talking about Charleston, because I want people like you just said, Brother Belgian, to be like, "Yo, that shit's going on over here too."
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like I kind of want everybody to just be like, "Yo," and they don't have to necessarily do the same thing that I did to address it, but just create the awareness or whatever.
Just a little backtracking, because you said you want to make sure it's specifically talking about Charleston, and you're talking about the, what is it called, the shoot 'em up and gun and beer fest. That is what. Do you know if there were more? You mentioned something about them being more throughout the country. Were there more specifically called those German and Black people fests?
I don't know outside of Charleston how much Black involvement there was, but that shooting fest happened in a lot of different places. Like
anywhere where German immigrants set up. South
Carolina, a couple of different places in South Carolina, and I want to say there was one in DC, and I may be mistaken. There may have been one in Philadelphia. I know for a fact that lager beer was being shipped from Philly to Charleston, because at the time, it was kind of hard to brew, it's subtropic down there in Charleston. The climate just wouldn't work with the beer or whatever. So they were getting a lot of beer from Philly, lager beer in particular. So going back to Charleston, and even if you don't know anything about Charleston was like Walmart for slaves back in the day. You want all your slaves, you gotta go to Charleston. They got the best slaves ever in Charleston. I'm telling you, check it out. Right?
Amazon.
Yeah, it's like Amazon. So what that meant was that you had a lot of Africans in Charleston, and a lot of times that trip would come directly from West Africa, or it would come from West Africa, quarantine in the Caribbean, and then come up to Charleston. And so when I talk about Gullah Geechee culture, or Gullah Geechee people in Charleston, and it's specifically in the southeastern corridor of Kingston, North Carolina, all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida. But Charleston, South Carolina, and Beaufort, and all coastal South Carolina, that's the Mecca right there of it. And what that is that because the landscape in South Carolina and West Africa in the agriculture and the food and the seafood and all that, because it was so similar. When they would bring West Africans there, it was familiar to. That's why they were brought over, because like, rice was like gold in South Carolina, and South Carolina is like one of the only places you can grow rice. You can grow rice in West Africa. Landscape looks the same. That's why they brought them over, so they were easy. They were able to cultivate that land, which also meant that they were able to hold on to a lot of traditions that they had coming from Africa. Whereas, you got to think about it like that game that you would play in the circle, when you would say one word to one person and the word gets all the way around, and by the time it gets to the last person, it's a totally different word. Think about it's like the same thing when you're bringing, unfortunately, bringing slaves over. You bring them and you stop them here at this coastal town, like they can hold on to a lot of their culture. But as they go inland, as they go up and, a little bit further west, they kind of lose that because it's not the same landscape. It's not the same, climate and all that stuff. So Charleston, they were able to hold on to a lot of that. Two of the main things, the dialect and the cuisine. Like, you come down to Charleston, like, it's not like your typical Southern accent. It's very similar to like a Caribbean accent. And then the cuisine is a lot of rice. You got this thing down there called red rice. Like, red rice is like, you ever hear people talk about, who made the potato salad? Charleston, we don't say that. It's like, who made the red rice? Who made the red rice? And red rice, if you know anything about jollof rice in West Africa, is the same shit. So it's like all this going on. But you go to Charleston. Charleston's this big tourist city. And they talk about the history in Charleston, Side note, Charleston is like Atlanta for white people. That's just what it is. Like, white people love Charleston, right? No, like real shit. It's like Atlanta for white people. So, but when they come there, like, the city doesn't say, come to Charleston with all this deep-rooted African history. They don't say that. It's come to Charleston for our history and our antebellum history, and all the restaurants are so good in Charleston, whereas most of those restaurants prepare and sell very local cuisine, a lot of rice, a lot of seafood. All of that shit is black as hell in its existence, but not black as hell in marketing with it.
It's presentation,
yeah. Going back to the beer, Edmund Zos. So my reason for mentioning in that piece that, hey, Edmund Zos is named after Edmund Egan, a slave owner, and this is why this is whitewashing, is because that's an example of, in the beer culture, specifically in Charleston, where someone has taken something that is very directly connected to African culture and the enslavement of African Americans, but like basically whitewashing and not telling the full story. And so Good Beer Hunting, Good Beer Hunting is like Time Magazine for beer. It's a worldwide public, like everybody. It's very broad, so a lot of eyes got onto it. So once it came out, Edmund Zos reaches out to me and my team actually, and we have like a series of conversations, some of which were very awkward as hell. But I have to kind of like, give them respect due, because they did stay the course and they kept up with the conversation and they would ask questions.
When you say awkward, who was it awkward for, them or you?
Because it was like it wasn't awkward for me, but it was like, it was definitely some poker faces. Because I'd be honest, like, just arrogantly speaking, I was like, I know these motherfuckers going to kind of like call me and be like, hey man, about that thing that you said in there, whatever. So it's like the whole time I'm just sitting there like this. In my mind, I'm like, yeah, whatever, you apologize, whatever, blah, blah. But it got to a point to where it was like, okay, let's do something together, because I don't want to be in a situation where I'm just constantly punching down like, oh, fuck y'all did that shit, that was some bad shit. It's like, that's not productive. You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes a lot of guts to say, hey, I didn't know. I apologize. And I know that I should know, but I didn't know. And I want to get into a situation to where I don't feel like that again. And
so that's what the article for them was an educational experience. They didn't know that they're...
Well, yeah, kind of. So they knew about it, but they didn't fully understand.
And it's weird. It's weird that white folks really don't like. They don't know that prominent white folks in the 1700s owned slaves.
What did Martin say? What did Martin say? I just saw Boys in the Hood. I didn't know.
Didn't know. But like going back to that, like this dude opened up the first brewery in South Carolina in 1778.
You gotta know,
right? Like what is going on in 1778, white folks? Like slavery. Like that's the most important thing.
You gotta know. Sorry, no, I'm not gonna go too far into this story though. But so my wife is a full-time makeup artist, right? And she had this wedding to do in like this rural ass place in Virginia. And I'm like looking at the map and I'm like, yo, it's nothing. What the hell is here? Like, I already kind of know what to expect, right? So we go to this. It's like a 4-hour drive from the city or whatever, and we get to this big ass hotel with the big, tall, white pillars. Shit, I mean, the grounds are well kept,
right?
Like a damn plantation.
Yep.
We have this big ass rug on the porch of this hotel, and it says Homestead 1776. So this hotel that we went to, where she had to do makeup for the wedding, has been a hotel since 1776. And immediately my mom was like, "Dog, they had so many black people snatch stuff out here."
I was thinking something crazy about that rug. I was like, "Is that
a noose rug, a rope under it, some shit?"
I thought it was a hair rug or something.
That place probably fucking haunted like a motherfucker too.
So like, yeah, put that in there. We had the conversations, man. And like I said, they were gracious and like, it's like, yo, let's do something, man. Let's do something. So we came up with this beer called 8 and All, and it's kind of like it's a play off of words. It's the 8 for the 8 enslaved African Americans that were mentioned that brewed the beer, but it's kind of like a 1 + 1 = 2 sort of thing. So it's like a lot of times we separate history. It's always American history, Native American history, American history, African American history. Whereas this is an example of this is everybody in there, good and bad. This is all American history, right? So it's like 8 in all of us. So it's kind of like I said, 1 + 1 = 2 sort of thing. And so like, yeah, we did it, and like this, all of this, everything that kind of like followed, kind of like shit just started happening like out of the blue or whatever. So came up with the can, did the collaboration, and another guy from a brewery in Charleston reached out, a guy named Pierce Fleming. He owns Common House Ale Works in North Charleston, South Carolina. So he calls a couple days, maybe like a week or so after the articles are released, and he just wanted to have a conversation. So he kind of he heads Charleston Beer Week. You know how every city has like a beer week or whatever,
right?
So Charleston has a beer week. From what he's telling me, he's like, traditionally it's just a big week of party. Like we don't do a whole bunch of educational shit, but it's just all parties. But I really want to do something educational for this thing. And then at Common House, they have this big, like, kind of like a beer garden sort of thing with a stage, and like it's dope, man. And he's like, I really want to do something. I really want to do something educational, and like your pieces that you wrote were like so just like informative and inspiring, and then like on a lot of different labels, humbling. And it's like, I just really want to do something revolving around that. So that's where the festival took place. So within Charleston Beer Week, we had a Take Care of the Root Festival, which was a panel discussion with me and these two young ladies called the Cocktail Bandits. They're like very high on in the cocktail scene in Charleston. 2 African American women. They're from Charleston also. So it was just like basically just having a conversation about diversity and inclusion and all that stuff, which we probably hear panels like that all the time, but for Charleston,
right,
you just don't see shit like that, and you definitely don't see it in no damn brewery. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of big for that, and then also just going back to the can, like I don't know if y'all can see it, like so the can is I looked at it as an art piece because like I don't know if y'all seen that image before, but like this is basically an enslaved person with a collar around his neck.
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah. And that's a method of torture during that time. Whereas if slaves were deemed insubordinate, they would put this collar around their neck, and it prevented them from running away, and they couldn't sit down, and they couldn't sleep. It would chafe. It's hot. It's muggy. It's getting infected. Like it was just horrible, right? So on this can, I decided to put this on this can. So this can was designed by my boy Damian Johnson. We went to college together, right? I wanted to put this on the can, and I don't want to say it's an ugly image, but it's, at least for me, is a very disturbing image,
right?
Because of like we're like the remnants of this, and basically, so if you see it, you have one guy facing this way, another guy facing the other way, and they have the 8, and then there's a symbol above the 8, and that's an Adinkra symbol. It's a West African symbol, and what it means is it's important to know your past before you can understand your future. Kind of like to take care of the root whole thing, but they're like the same. It's the same portrait, and so basically, I'm looking at that like, yo, specifically for Charleston, we have to have this conversation about the importance of the history, African American history, and what that means to this city, and then how we can like kind of like move on, but still hold on to that truth. And if we don't, then we're all going to be having that fucking collar still on our neck. And I can say that because had beer been in my life when I was like 21, 22, like my fascination with it, I should not have had to wait till I was like 38, 37. But because of the things that happened at the Schützenfest, where because a lot of Black people were excluded out of those beer spaces, it was just like foregone. It's like, no, that doesn't belong to you. You know what I'm saying? That's how a lot of people, how a lot of Black people think. It's like, no, that's the white boy shit. That's not my shit. That's they shit. When in actuality, it's everybody's. Like we were there too. We just weren't being told that we were there. So
yo, that can is crazy though. Just the fact that you were able to get that image on the can is big
for the guy, and that's the collaboration with the slave guy.
Yeah. And so like again, like I said, I wanted this to be an art piece. So I mean,
it's definitely art piece. For
sure.
Yeah,
the easiest thing to do is to drink the beer. That's easy. Like, and at the end of the day, we're just talking about beer. Like that shit ain't that serious. Like it's easy to drink the beer. It's not so easy to just walk around town holding
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it wasn't going into this thing like I didn't want this thing to just be on shelves all over the country. It's like no. Like I want very small batch. Like this ain't for that. This is for a specific conversation for this specific town or whatever. And like I said, the easiest thing to do is to drink the beer. It's not so easy to have that conversation. But if we're going to have these breweries and these, historically Black neighborhoods that are now being gentrified, and this area wasn't worth shit 20 years ago, but because these breweries come now and is owned by certain people that look a certain way, now this is a more desired area. Like, what are we? Those are the things we need to talk about. We need
to clean up all the Martin Luther King boulevards in every city.
All that shit, man. All that shit. Yeah.
Nah, but that is crazy. That is a crazy story. Like I can't imagine sitting with somebody like a white person drinking that beer. And what's that can? Oh, what's on that can? Here you go.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it'll probably be a lot of people that just look at it and not really see it, which also goes back to the whole thing. Is like
I saw something different until you explained it. Just
really?
I couldn't. And when did
you see?
I didn't see I couldn't. It looked like a mirror almost. Like they look like they're mirror images. So I thought about The Invisible Man. It's a book about racism and shit like that. So I just thought of that mirror and The Invisible Man, or like the spook who sat by the door type of things like that. But then once he told me what
about racism though,
right, yeah, I knew exactly that it was racism on the can. I knew something about racism was on the can, but I didn't see it until he explained what the actual apparatus was. But I know I've heard about it before. But I think, put that on the can. That's ballsy.
I think they have the image at the African American Museum in the DC.
They got the actual.
They're gonna have to put that can in there.
Yeah, I think they actually do have the piece to show what it was. It's ridiculous when you say it.
It's overwhelming in that museum. Period.
Yeah,
but they might as well go ahead and throw that can in there, man. Why not?
Shit, man, let's talk it up, man.
That's history.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah. So also
American history.
So there's a African American research center in Charleston, called the Avery Research Center, and they're like in conjunction with the College of Charleston, which is like the university in the city. So the piece that I wrote is going to be an exhibit in that research center. Yeah, man. So like shit.
That's dope. That's dope.
That is dope.
Man. Yeah, man. So yeah, man.
Well, I mean, he's doing a big thing because he life flexed on when he said, "What they call my team."
Bro, yeah. They're not me. They called us. They called all of us. He been flexing. He been dropping bombs. All episodes.
Oh man,
low hand grenade.
I hate even talking about it, man. Because
man, this is like we said earlier. This is the podcast where you're supposed to be on the pedestal and talk shit.
I'm just messing with you. I just had to say it because I heard it.
My team.
I need to get y'all.
I still get randomly going to Europe. Just always blows me away.
Right.
Well, I mean,
I randomly go to like.
I randomly go downstairs.
Well, I think it's more like they said we're not going to go to like Miami.
Yeah, I know. But he and when he said that, he backed it up with randomly. Yeah, like that just seemed boss.
Bro,
just take it, man. Take it.
You'd be surprised how cheap it is to go. It's cheaper to go to like Amsterdam than it is to go to Miami.
You know what I'm
saying? Like, you can have way more fun. And then going to Amsterdam, you can go to like 3-4 other different countries. Just
right. You could drive there.
Yeah, you know.
That's true.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that part.
Now, I know you.
Cool for that.
I know you mentioned Good Beer Hunting, but you also do other writing for other publications as well. Because what is Huckberry? What is Huckberry?
So here's the thing with me, man. Since I was young, I've always been in these spaces with all these white people, man. Like I don't like I play sports or whatever, and I was like, so I've always been cool with everybody. Like I was cool with, I don't want to say regular black folks, but like, middle class black people, whatever. But I was cool with them boys in the street also, and I was cool with the rednecks and cool with I was just always cool with everybody. And for whatever reason, like I've always just been in spaces where I'm kind of like the only one for a lot of times. Right. So Huckberry is like, what is Huckberry? Huckberry is like, Huckberry is like Jordans for white boys, man. So it's like a lot of shit that I'm into. So they sell like a lot of camping gear and like fishing gear, and like they're
like Cabela's.
Yeah, not necessarily, not that far, but like I will say, and they don't necessarily cater specific. Like they have black folks in their marketing, whatever. But like I was put on to Huckberry by one of my white homeboys, and everybody like when I posted about, oh man, I'm a writer for Huckberry now. Like this is so crazy. All my white boys are like, oh my God, Jamaal, shit's crazy.
All your black friends are like, what the fuck is that?
What's Huckberry?
So in my world, that's what it is.
Right.
Most black people just don't or whatever. But like, yeah, so that's Huckberry is like it's actually really cool, man, because they do like a lot of video stuff with their merchandise or whatever, and it's kind of like an end all be all thing for like, in particular for like men. So like a lot of women, they're shopping for their boyfriends or husbands or whatever. You can get like a lot of cool stuff on there, like they got like a lot of beer shit on there. So it's like kind of like a general.
I want to say I heard of it though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've seen it before.
Yeah.
Like, Huckberry's dope, man. They do a lot of dope stuff.
Well, you're a fisherman, so you probably are into that life.
Yeah.
Outdoorsy.
Yeah, I heard of it before.
You bought your rod out of the Huckberry.
I might have got a Swiss Army knife or some
shit.
Cut your lines.
Cut a motherfucker just in case they run up on me.
Nope. Your Swiss Army knife is just for fishing, bro.
Just for fishing, yeah.
Come up on me on the pier.
You never know, man. You be out. I'm telling you, man. You be out there in them, especially when you by yourself. Like, cause sometimes I go fishing by myself. Man, you gotta make sure that you got some protection on. You never know what's going to happen, man.
Oh yeah.
Be safe out there.
Never know.
I got an Uncle Hank, boy. He keep a pistol on him, boy.
Yeah, I got an uncle that go to the Walmart with his gun.
Yeah,
he's like,
my Uncle Hank keeps a pistol on him.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. Safety first.
People. Be safe.
Safety first.
So let me ask you this, Jamal, going back a little bit. When you when was it that you just was like, the government job isn't for me, the teaching's not for me, like this writing thing and the beer? Because I know you said after the internship you went right to trying to get beer jobs and porn and things like that. Were you still doing the government job and working at the brewery, or was it as soon as I got done the internship I'm full bore into this beer?
No, I still work at the government. I just never talk, like nobody know. I never talk about it. But I've always known, this goes back to like just growing up in South Carolina. I've always known what I wanted to do. And my mom would always ask me when I was young, like, Jamal, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I used to tell her, I don't know. I just want to have fun. And of course, she would be like, boy, you need to know exactly what you want to do. And what that meant was like, I like talking to people. I like talking to strangers in particular. I love doing like creative things. I love writing. So it's like not one thing that I enjoy doing, but like as far as like the beer space, I can do all of that stuff. Like I can talk about the music. I can drink some beer. I can meet strangers, podcasts, right? Like I can do so many different things. And it's like I said, it took me a while to understand it, but like that Czech Republic experience, man, like it just opened my eyes, man, to the point where like beer's basically like baseball cards to me. Like I can't get enough of it. Like I'm always thinking about it. I'm a diehard college football fan, but I think like just beer and all the beer culture is kind of like surpassing that.
So have you did anything else with Thrillers since then?
Nope.
No.
No. They just posted it, so it wasn't. So that internship was through a company called World of Beer.
Okay.
Thrillers just like ran it or whatever.
Because they put that stuff like, do you want to eat candy for the year?
Yeah.
But it's not Thrillers.
But it's not them. It's just that they
So when you went down to Tampa, it was World of Beer, or was it Thrillers?
World of Beer, yeah.
World of Beer.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So are you still in contact with them?
World of Beer? No.
No.
That I mean, very gracious for that. That opportunity, man. But that it was also kind of element of like, we got a damn Lamborghini with no gas in it, sort of thing. Like it could have, at least in our eye, it could have like really been so. And they probably didn't want it to get too big. I think they really just wanted the social media attention from it, which I'm sure they got. But like, it was still cool. Like it set me on my path, so I ain't mad at it.
Right. That's why I was asking, like, if you still was working with any of them, because it did send you up.
Right, and he's actually pretty good at his beer writing, because he is an award winner.
Hey,
in 2020. So
congratulations.
Yeah, man. Like even that, like I didn't know nothing about that shit, man. Like that's so. I wrote another piece. It's called "Mutated Anxiety." So this was like right after the George Floyd thing, and so with Good Beer Hunting, we have we use the Slack app. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Slack. Yeah. So everybody, all the contributors are on there. We like communicate, joke, or whatever, take pictures. But on the work side, like if we want to pitch an idea, there's a segment on Good Beer Hunting called B-roll, and it's kind of like these like quick little write-ups about a picture, and it's kind of like to explain like the culture around beer or whatever. And so you take your picture or whatever, or post your picture in there and like give like a little pitch about it, and they'll pick it up or not, or edit it or whatever. So I had this picture of my son, and this is like during quarantine, everybody shut down, it's fresh in the quarantine. And in our kitchen is like a back door, and he was like just sitting on the floor. I just took a picture of him, and you can't really see his face. You just see him sitting on the floor playing, and you just see a silhouette. And so I dropped it in the Slack app, and I wrote like a little short sentence about being Black in the face of COVID and law enforcement. And Michael Kaiser, the guy that runs GBH, he sent me a private DM. He was like, "Hey man, like much love to Michael Kaiser, man. Like he's really good at being like aware and sensitive to like everybody, not just like on the race ship, but like everybody. Like he's really good with that. And then through the work on GBH, like you can see that. But anyway, he sends me a DM. He was like, "Hey man, like I ain't trying to push you. And I know, you know, this is like some very touchy things, but he was like, I think it's important for you to kind of like talk about that if you're willing to. Like, again, I'm not pushing you, but like if you are open to doing that, I would love to see you do that." And so like, you know, that time for me was like crazy, man, because you know, we were locked in. And then I didn't even want to see that shit, that George Floyd stuff, man. I saw it on accident. And I was like, God damn, man. Right. And I remember also we had like for GBH, we had like this Zoom meeting with everybody. And this was like right after it. And I think Michael Kaiser just kind of wanted to check everybody, make sure everybody was okay, which was, you know, crazy because there ain't a lot of black people who write for GBH either. There's like me and like a couple other people, but you have like some Southeast Asian folk, and you have people of color there. Right. But at that particular time, not a whole lot. And I remember there was like some conversations going on about it, and like I'm just hearing everybody saying, "Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. This is unfortunate. This is sickening." And then I was like, "Yo, what is it about this one? Y'all ain't see the last 5, 7, 10,
exactly.
What is about this one?"
Yeah.
And then again, Michael Kaiser, he was like, "Man, I think it's because everybody's shut in now. Like, you know, we're forced to look at it. And
that's true.
It's crazy, and it's unfortunate to say it like that, but he's like, that's the truth." And I was like, okay. So anyway, so I wrote that piece, and so that piece was basically I came at it from people always say, "Oh, well, slavery happened so long." Like, if you're black and you any kind of like racism or anything like that, you can always connect it to slavery.
Right.
In short, you can just be like, "Oh, well, how come?" If this, I know this is a myth, but how come not black fathers are not in their child's lives? Oh, slavery. And people can be like, "That doesn't make any sense." It's like, well, that actually makes a lot of sense.
It makes all the sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But so for me, I wanted to connect. I wanted to show people how close that connection is. Whereas I was born in 1979, and my great grandfather died in 1976, and that motherfucker was born a slave. Like that shit ain't that far away. That's like two people, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
And then my mom was a sharecropper, and what that was basically like bootleg slavery or whatever. It's like, oh, well, we'll pay you to work this farm, but if we're going to set the quota at 10, and if you only meet the quota at 7, then we're not going to pay you, and you have to work off that 3 that you like. Sharecropping is like really like that's some crazy wild shit. So you have people that come up in that, and then because you're trying to meet a quota, and you need all hands on deck. So now, if you have kids, now they can't go to school because you're trying to meet this quota because you don't want to be in debt. So it's like all this stuff going on, and I'm just talking about that and just talking about my relationship to the beer and just all kind of wild stuff. Anyway, on Twitter, like they NAGBW, National Associate, what is it? Fuck, I should know.
National American Guild of Beer Writers.
Beer writers, yeah. So that's going on. And
sorry, North American Guild.
North American Guild for Beer Writers. So they're just, but my Twitter is going off crazy. Like, I'm not even on Twitter like that. They're like, "Oh, Jamaal, you won. I'm like, "Won what?" It's like, "Oh, you won for I think it was like best commentary for that piece that I wrote." I was like, "Oh shit!" It's like, I don't know what the hell this is, but I'll, thank you.
Nice. You said I won an award. Thanks.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take it.
Yeah, like, I didn't know what that was, man. But, and it, a lot of times that's, this is for anybody though. This ain't even just for me. I think it's power in not knowing. because like it's going up in spots and like now like you can ask a lot of questions and figure stuff out, and that's why I also think, man, like especially for Black women, man, like once Black women start getting more into this to this industry, man, I'm working on an initiative with my college. Like we're going to start seeing a lot of innovation and a lot of patents and stuff like that. Like I'm not going to nerd out too much on y'all with that, but like it's power in not knowing. I just want everybody to know that shit.
Right.
Nice.
I agree.
Did you mention what style of beer that was that the collaboration was for?
Oh, it's an American strong ale.
Okay.
So, like I was saying earlier, it pairs well with Gullah Geechee dishes. So, Gullah Geechee dishes it's the same thing as like Caribbean food, man. If you do rice and peas, like our food Gullah Geechee cuisine has a tendency to be a bit spicy. A lot of seafood, like a lot of oysters, shrimp, fish, fried fish, red rice, like I mentioned, a lot of stews and all of that. And they have a tendency to be a bit spicy. So, American strong ale is leans more to the malt. The malt has a tendency to kind of like cool down spices or knock down spiciness. But there's also like it has a fairly high IBU in this beer, which is not overbearing, but it's just enough to kind of like just like peek its head. So and it's 8.5%. The portions are served down there really heavy, as they say. They have a heavy hand, like they'll load your plate up. So if you're gonna drink an 8.5% beer, I don't know if you want to just be eating sausages and crackers. Like you want to eat something pretty hearty that's gonna stick to you. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. It's been a lot. Any more questions for Jamaal?
Nah, man. Thank you for
that's a good story. You got a good story. Yeah.
That history lesson was awesome.
Man, this is fun. Like again, man, like this is the blackest one I've been on. It's always me talking about, well, I think it's white people should do this. And now it's like I'm dropping saying nigga and all kinds of
stuff. I was thinking, I was like, you do that nigga a lot.
Yeah,
ain't nothing wrong with it, nigga.
He's like, nigga, that's how I do.
That's what I'm making do that shit, nigga.
I was like, oh, you niggas like my cousin.
That's funny.
All right, any more questions for Jamaal?
Yeah, no, I got a question for y'all. So y'all had DJ EFN on here.
Oh yeah.
So how did that work
That's
out?
what we do.
Like, how did that work?
Real to Yoda.
Sometimes you just gotta put it out there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's dope, man. Yeah, like I watch, Drink Champs like crazy, man.
Yeah, me too. That's why I reached out. But he like fuck with Crowns and Hops and
I saw that on the table one episode. I was like, oh
so that's what did it. Like, cause we fuck with Tio and Benny too. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and reach out to him. And see what happened.
Yeah, we had Benny on our podcast. I haven't met neither one of them in person though, but like, I love what they're doing, man. Like they're like they're like leading all this shit.
Right?
I think it's safe to say, man.
Oh man,
fly like.
That's how you ain't been to Barrel and Flow yet, then.
Yeah,
them. Oh yeah, those are your Pittsburgh boys, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, I haven't been there. I haven't done that either.
That's the blackest beer fest you ever gonna go to.
You talk about
like black shit.
I gotta try that out, man. I need to get out more, man. That fucking COVID's still out here strong, though.
Yeah.
But that was a good thing about Barrels and Flow. You made sure you was vaccinated, and if you weren't, you had to take a rapid test on site.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Good.
Nobody, you wasn't getting in there without the.
Yeah. And it was outside. It was spacey, so it was like So it was good.
And it's another one in Rocky Mount, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's in Durham now, but the Blacktoberfest.
Oh, Blacktober.
Oh, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shout out to them, man.
For sure.
Yeah, man. We need more black shit.
Yeah, I mean, and there's now changing the air up in
changing the air in Connecticut.
That they're doing, and even Oak Park is trying to do some stuff as well.
Definitely.
Trying to change the narrative, or at least make sure people are aware that Black people do love beer and drink beer and all that good stuff.
And we've been a part of this since y'all been a part of this.
Since it's been a part, we've been a part of it, man.
Right,
that's a good way of saying it for sure.
There you go. 8-0.
It was funny because I was
right.
you know,
Yeah,
I was asking about the beer type because I was like, I didn't know if you had like something significant to Charleston, like rice or something, like rice lager or something.
I'm working on that too, brother.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that is true. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, we working on something.
Just don't make no seafood
No,
lager.
nothing too crazy, man.
Did you had that seafood beer before? Right. Did you ain't like it?
Yeah. Oh no, that shit was delicious.
Shrimp and grit ale. That sound popping.
Nah, it was
shrimp and grit ale.
The one that I had was lobster.
A Hefeweizen. Shrimp and grit Hefe.
Yeah, I had a steak and lobster joint.
Oh no.
Oh,
I did have a steak and lobster beer, but but the thing was that it didn't taste like lobster or nothing. It was just it probably was just good to go with if I had lobster because it almost kind of tastes like something you would drink with seafood. So I think that's where they got it from, but it didn't taste like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because remember, I had the steak one first, and it was smoky. The steak one was kind of smoky, and then the lobster joint was more on a lighter side, lemony kind of flavor to it. So,
gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, we want to thank Jamaal for coming through.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Before we wrap up, we always like to know how people can find everybody on these World Wide Web social medias. And Jamaal, since you are our guest, how can people find you and your work?
I am heavy on Instagram at Sweetgrass3, and goodbeerhunting.com is where you can find all my pieces. But I have it all linked up on my Instagram. So Instagram is like the best place.
So what's Sweetgrass 3 stand for?
So Sweetgrass, another Charleston reference.
Okay.
The Sweetgrass basket weaving. I don't know if you've ever seen like pictures of young. So back home, a lot of the old timers, they get these sweetgrass. It's kind of like they grow in like marshy areas around the city, and it's like this really old West African style of basket weaving. They make like all these big ass baskets to kind of like hold rice, but now like they make them you can put anything in, and they sell them for like crazy amounts of money, man. So.
Yo, so let me ask you this: how do I visit Black Charleston and not
the Atlanta for white folks?
I want to go to Black Charleston.
I'm telling you, follow my homeboy KJ Kearney. He has Black Food Fridays. On Instagram. Like he's your guy. Like you hit him up or just see the places that he goes to. Like, and he has this crazy following also. So he's pretty popular, man. And
he's so all his stuff is in Charleston.
No, they're all over the place, but he's from Charleston. He's in the city now, and he knows what to do. Yep.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to check him out.
Yeah, check him out.
I already follow him. How about that?
I think I do too already.
He got food on the page, Rob.
Yeah.
That's probably what it was.
He has Black and food in his name. Yes, he's definitely going to get followed by us. Oh, an alligator.
Yeah, boy. Oh, you see that?
Stupid. He got a whole alligator on the grill.
Y'all know about that.
Yeah, nope. We sure don't.
No.
Oh
my.
Yo, how can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at IM302YODA. Yay.
All right. Aggressive.
Yay.
Lou
stuck up.
Yo, this fucking alligator. Oh man, y'all got to go and check out this fucking alligator. Anyway, I'm on them Instagrams. My name is Lou Belgium.
All right. You can find Bruising Banter Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Bruising Banter Podcast. Because they don't like how I say.
They're going to find it this week. They're going to find it.
Oh, somebody going to listen and say, oh, they on Twitter.
Finally. I never knew. I thought it was Twitter.
You can actually go to www.bruisingbanter.com and find all the links, but you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can say, hey, Alexa, listen, let me hear Bruising Banter, because we are on Amazon Music as well. If you want to follow me, Rob G, Rob Stay Bruising, there it is. And you can get that merch like I see Yo got the hoodie on.
Yeah.
If you go to www.bruisingbanter. Not my hoodie.
There you go with that fucking hoodie. Nope. Can't find that.
I'm wearing it forever. And ever.
You petty as hell. Look at Lou. Lou's like, that shit's not funny.
And tell if you want to follow Dev Drinks Crafts Brew, that's how you follow him as well. Until next time,
have a good week, everyone.
Peace.
I can't remember, I've been popping my collar, popping my collar, popping my collar. Ever since I can remember, I've been working.
Hey yo! Before we go any further,
in my head.
you have me mocking me while I'm on this stage.
Ever since I can remember.